Welcome to Front and Center with Jacquie Jordan.
Stephanie Cobian here of Front and Center. We're at the VAXXED bus before the screening of Vaxx 2, The People's Truth.
The worst of all is the censorship, is that there's no way to talk about this issue. They characterize us as anti-vax, and they're able to marginalize and dismiss us and make us look crazy, and nobody actually is listening to what we say.
This is Front and Center with your host, Jacquie Jordan.
Entertainment and pop culture expert Jacquie Jordan is with us.
Two-time Emmy-nominated Hollywood producer Jacquie Jordan.
We are the show where we talk with the change agents, the storytellers, and the activators from behind the scenes, making impacts. And joining me as co-host Phil Barbb. With show producer Stephanie Cobian.
You want the best vanilla ever? I got it. You want the best cacao ever? I got it, because that's what it's all about.
In 2012, I had an accident, and then I had another accident, and it emerged into who I really am right now.
And it's really nice to forge like economic partnerships that you know are really helping like a family thrive in another country, and they get to do the artistry that they want to do.
Welcome to Front and Center. I'm Jacquie Jordan. We are the broadcast podcast. You can find us on YouTube. Please subscribe. And you can find us on all places that you enjoy your favorite podcasts. We are at the Conscious Life Expo at the Hilton LAX. We're backstage. And I'm joined here with Stephanie Cobian and Phillip Andrew Barbb. Thank you so much. And Stephanie went behind the scenes recently and did a backstage interview with Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yes, for Vaxx 2.
Yes, Vaxx 2.
The People's Truth.
Very controversial movie. So you want to tell us a little bit about what you saw?
One of the takeaways is there was a lot of people there, and everybody wants to be like, oh, it's anti-vax. But the truth was that watching the documentary and the people there, they actually were not anti-vax. They all had their kids vaccinated. So what was interesting is they all had a story to tell that was like heartbreaking, most of them. Something happened, and you know, regardless of what you believe of why those things happened, is something did happen once they did a vaccination. And I don't think, you know, everybody wants to make them the bad guy because they're anti-vaccine now, but they have a personal story they need to share, and they're not being heard.
And then I think, well, what is the problem with being anti-vax?
I think that's a big question.
Like, I always say that we have a lot of diversity going on right now. We have diversity of gender, diversity of sexuality, but we cannot have diversity of opinion.
Right.
You know, hashtag 2020.
Yeah, it's, you know, as a guy who doesn't have kids, I can like run away and like not have an opinion,
bury
right?
your head in the
but
sand.
I do think that there's I think because we hear so many people that are anti this thing, and then we have so many people that are for this thing, we forget there's a lot of people in the middle that just want information. We're trying to figure it out. I don't know yet. I don't know how I feel yet. Can somebody not like yell at me? I just want to learn.
And then it's so funny because when Stephanie was doing the interview, she had said to me, over the phone, she's like, I'm too young to have my reputation blacklisted by doing this.
Phil would understand, right?
I wasn't there. I obviously was not there for a reason.
Do you know what I can say? Because I'm not a parent either, but I am a pet owner or a pet guardian, and I see the way pet vaccinations are pushed. And because I have a German Shepherd, which is a dog you don't want to get bit by, it's really important, obviously, to keep up and be compliant legally with rabies shots. But in the state of California, there hasn't been a rabies incident by dog in like 30 or 40 years. And the last reported rabies incident was actually by a bat. And yet, tell me, how much vaccination do we need to drop into the domestic dog population if in 30 to 40 years there hasn't been a rabies incident? Now, one would say, well, it's because of the vaccinations that there is no rabies incident. But then again, I go to, is it the research? The other vaccination that they I see the benefit is the bordetella. It's the coughing, but it's not presented at the vet necessarily. Not all vets presented as an optional vaccination. Now, if you put your dog into doggy daycare, and I'm using this all as a people metaphor, but this is true to the dog and animal population. If you put your dog into doggy daycare, it has to have the bordetella shot, which can or cannot make sense, except that when I did the research on it, what I saw was that mostly it's called kennel cough, and it happens to dogs with low immune systems who are usually in the pound and not taken care of. So there's this really interesting area of, everybody being vaccinated because a few in a certain demographic or in a wellness space may not necessarily, you may contaminate a larger population. I'm just using it as a metaphor in a very sensitive
But
subject.
I think that's a good thing because, again, to the people who I, in the documentary and that I spoke with, was something happened to them, but it's like nobody cares about their children. Yet everybody's so fearful of what if those people who can't get vaccinated. And I'm like, well, how do you decide on these 10 kids versus these 10 kids? It's like, oh, something may happen to these couple, but it benefits these other people, these couple who... So, I feel like
my brain is like scrambling.
One.
You know what? I went to South America a few years ago for a production,
and you had to be vaccinated,
and I had to get all these things, and but in my head I was just like, all right, that's what I got to get. I was like, oh, cool, the company's paying for it, free stuff for me.
As an adult, you got them,
right? But I didn't. I never really even had that moment where I stopped and paused and I was like, well, wait a minute,
what am I putting in my body? Right?
And so I could totally see how that just. You trust doctors.
What is what I don't like about it at all, and I'm not a parent, is and when seeing with the dogs that you actually get a vaccination lot number for the rabies shot, it goes on the certificate, but you are not able to legally sue the pharmaceutical company should there be a problem. And I don't like that. I think across the board, when that kind of block happens, it leaves a lack of accountability to the community to hold responsible people who may not be in the, for whatever reason, with the right to sue or right to at least use our criminal justice system should be allowed by all. So that
Especially
is a
for
red
something
flag.
you don't get to choose.
Yeah, and
you don't get to choose.
Exactly. And when when I look at what they give babies now in that first 24 months and the chemicals and the it's inoculation. You are actually getting the virus in order to be inoculated.
This is why no kids, no dogs, no pets. I don't have a fish because it would unfortunately probably pass away if I was taking care of it.
Get a plant.
Well, let's.
I have plants. They're all fake. I have 7 fake plants.
Well, let's take a look and see what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had to say about it.
You're always up against big shots and captive regulators. But with vaccines, it's agency capture on steroids, and the thing that really makes it different is zero liability, so it's really hard to sue them. And then the worst of all is the censorship, is that there's no way to talk about this issue. They characterize us as anti-vax, and they're able to marginalize and dismiss us and make us look crazy, and nobody actually is listening to what we say. Nobody's debating us, and that makes it very difficult. But I think ultimately we win.
I will say that was great. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I've met before because he's been an advocate, against the coal mines and other energy systems that haven't been good on the environment. So he's definitely been an advocate. Back to the Vaxx controversy. I grew up in a medical family, so I've got the family. I come from the family who they're going for the flu shots. They're like, free flu shots, got them. I'm caught up. I did that 10, 15 years ago. I got so incredibly sick from the flu shot. I had the worst flu of my life for 2 weeks and missed work. So I
don't think I've ever had a flu shot.
Me personally, no vaccines, thank you. That's just my personal
Someone
code.
was asking me the other day about things that I had. I was like, I don't go to the doctor very often. I feel like I'm in college. Let me call my dad and find out. I gotta ask permission.
Well, I did. I asked my mom if I had the one that the 16-year-old girls do.
The HPV?
The HPV. I think I do because
You actually don't know.
But I asked her. She's like, I don't know. I'm like,
That's interesting
So,
too.
and
yeah.
me and Phil are the same age by about a month. So I presume whatever vaccines I have, you have, and I haven't. I don't know what they are.
I don't know what they are either. I saw there was measles outbreak in Culver City the other day.
When people get scared enough by, a spread like the coronavirus, then everybody gets amped up. And, and I do think that there's sometimes we trample over personal rights in order to just save the world kind of moments. So
Oh, totally.
let's take a look at what your parent had to say from the documentary here.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. You're going to see Vaxxed 2, The People's Truth. What brought you here to watch this documentary?
Well, I saw the first one and was very intrigued. I've done a ton of research since then. I have a 2-year-old. I'm pregnant right now. So just kind of furthering my education and my research by seeing the next one.
So what are you hoping to get out of watching the next, Vaxxed 2, now that since you've already seen the first one as well?
I think it's just so hard to find credible places to get information that, I appreciate this forum and that they do these movies. So I like to just see what new is out there.
So that woman that I had met was pregnant. Seeing her there was quite really wanted to get her opinion. I was really happy to be able to talk with her. She was fantastic. I believe she didn't have the first child vaccinated and she didn't want to get the second one. So to me, she is someone who was there just educating herself
about the whole
about
process.
everything. Yeah, I think she wasn't not anti, not for, but trying to educate herself on it and just never really did it.
And that's why we're here at the Conscious Life Expo this weekend. We're going to talk to some really great people. But up next, we've got David Wolfe, co-developer of Nutribullet, who doesn't have one of those in their kitchen. And he's the author of Superfoods, and he dropped into the zeitgeist the whole superfood concept and word, which we see now on everything for everything. And we'll find out what actually is a superfood and if that still has any power right now. Okay, stay with us.
Every now and then there's an opportunity that comes in front of you and it's like, you better act now. This is it.
I knew when I left the hospital, actually, I wasn't the same person.
I don't think about the bottom line. Never have, never will. It's like the product needs to be what it wants to be. The business needs what it wants to be.
If you are doing extraordinary things from behind the scenes, from any walk of life, we'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to us on YouTube at TV Guestpert and/or TV Guestpert Broadcast Podcast. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at TV Guestpert. Are you ready to take your seat front and center and need some behind-the-scenes media training? Sign up for our online course, Media Marketing. For more information, go to tvguestpert.com.
Welcome back to Front and Center with Jacquie Jordan.
I definitely recommend for most people, especially Americans, the best thing to eat is not to eat anything.
Hi, I'm Jacquie Jordan. Welcome back to Front and Center. We are the show where we talk to the change agents, storytellers, and activators making impact from behind the scenes, now front and center. Joining us is Stephanie Cobian and Phillip Andrew Barbb, our co-hosts. And today we've got with us the co-developer of Nutribullet and my longtime friend, David Avocado Wolfe. So welcome, David.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So you're one of the keynotes here at the Conscious Life Expo this weekend, standing room only. I've seen the crowds when you're here and you speak. We just started the top of the show. Stephanie attended the premiere of Vaxxed 2 with Robert Kennedy Jr., something I know that you've spoken a lot about. Most people recognize you as the co-developer of Nutribullet. I don't know who doesn't have a Nutribullet in their kitchen. You really dropped a lot into the collective zeitgeist, and superfoods was one of them. Like, what is that like? And so the other one is the best day ever. I see that all over the place. He's been saying the best day ever since 2004 and probably even earlier than that. What do you think about just seeing the whole explosion of so much of that early work that you did in terms of nutrition, health?
Well, there's something very profound about the effect that one person can make on the world. Yeah. And so that's what I'm passing along to kids now. It's like you get up at 14, 15 years old. I had a 14-year-old staying with me for 10 days. And I'm like, you get on your mission now. You get your word out there. By the time you're 24, 25, you'll have gotten something out there. And by the time you're my age, you will have done more than I have done. And so it just shows you that one person can make a difference in the world. Absolutely. You never know what that difference is, though.
No, you don't. Cacao is another one. Cacao is an industry. Like cacao has taken over like the chocolate industry.
We changed that word. It used to be cocoa, C-O-C-O-A, which is the worst word ever. No one knows what that means. People are like, is that a cocoa, coconut, coca, cacao? What is it? We got it back to the original word, which is actually we know as the original Mayan, and even they got it from the Olmecs. The Olmec Mayan word is cacao, and we know because the way that they wrote their language was an enunciation. So cacao is the way the Mayans said it. So that's the original word, and that's why we brought that back, is to get it back to the British, the way they changed it to C-O-C-O-A and confused everybody. It's like, look, what does that have to do with anything? It's actually a nut, the most widely eaten nut in the world.
Reversal. The way David and I met over like a decade ago, I went on a retreat that David was co-hosting, but I didn't know David, and it was also a raw vegan retreat, which I didn't know anything about being raw vegan. So I'm sitting in the airport. I knew it was yoga and Peru. That's what I signed up for, yoga and Peru. And so everybody at the airport's like, David Wolfe, it's a raw vegan. How long have you been raw vegan? And so there's all this conversation. I was like, what am I signing up for? So I went on the retreat, met David. We had the best time ever. And I came back and it was an instant change. I went raw vegan. And I was like raw vegan for probably like close to a decade. In that time, I met Stephanie. And I
didn't know what raw vegan was. I was like,
we
who is this person and what is
She's like, you're eating a leaf. And she did a school project.
You're eating a leaf.
No. So I went to Cal State Northridge, right? CSUN. And so we had to do a documentary. And I was like, I come up with ideas. And I was like, oh. And I met her and I was like, why don't I do a documentary on this raw vegan what? And so she would take me out. Okay. She would take me out to eat. I would still be starving because I didn't eat that. I'm like 22 years old, right? So we go to this place literally called Leaf. That was the restaurant. And okay. I'm Mexican. We eat real burritos. That's for tortillas and like rice and beans and like a meat. And it's like, I don't know, these sprouts and some other things in
and it's called a burrito.
A leaf. A leaf. So I took it to school, and everybody in my class was like, what is this? I was like, I don't know. This is what it is.
Isn't that funny how crazy natural food is?
It's
like
amazing.
The reaction to natural, natural.
But I do have cacao. I'm not raw vegan, but I like cacao.
See, Mexicans are still connected to food. They still know how to grow food. They understand avocados. They get hot chilies. They understand things. That's why I love traveling to Mexico. I love Mexicans. I grew up right on the border, actually.
So the food program, it's literally a food program that's changed a lot. Like what to eat today is like almost a crisis of consciousness at this point. Keto and paleo and raw vegan and not vegan or pescatarian or intermittent fasting. Like I don't even think eating is even like organic. Like this is just what we do here on planet Earth.
But like we're hungry.
I want the pill. I don't like to eat. I want a pill. I can just put in nutrients. I'm good for 3 weeks.
What?
We can hook you up. I got stuff for you.
Like what? What about the food program right now?
Basically, where I'm at today with all that is you got to have quality. It's qualitarianism is really where it's at. And so,
if you coined another word.
I have an organic certified biodynamic farm, all our stuff. Like I'm the only certified biodynamic farmer of vanilla in the United States of America.
Wow.
That's where I'm at. It's like you want the best vanilla ever? I got it. You want the best cacao ever? I got it. Because that's what it's all about. It's like it's all about the quality and bringing that quality up to maximum whatever you're going to eat. Mm-hmm. I definitely recommend for most people, especially Americans, the best thing to eat is not to eat anything.
And water. Let's just go water.
Yeah.
Distilled water, spring water, alkaline water, reverse osmosis water.
I'm about to flip this one
Tap
over. Ready?
Water,
okay,
please. I want to hear that.
We flip this one over. Okay, here it is. Deuterium depleted water. This is quite a story. I've been following this story for over 20 years, and it originally was a Russian research on this that struck my interest. As you age, you accumulate deuterium. Now, deuterium is an aberrant form of hydrogen. It's an isotope of hydrogen. It has an extra neutron. You also accumulate tritium, which is 2 neutrons, which is believed to be in the past was like, oh, hydrogen's all the same. It's just hydrogen. No, it's deuterium. Finally, in the 1930s, a scientist decided to sprout tobacco seeds, in this particular case, in deuterium water, D2O. It's hydrogen. It's supposed to be just the same chemistry as hydrogen, but actually it's totally toxic. Deuterium is absolutely toxic to all metabolism. And the discovery was made eventually that the accumulation of deuterium, which you have more deuterium in your body right now than you have calcium and magnesium combined.
So you're saying hydrogen water.
Okay, well, I'm going to get there. Okay, so basically what it comes down to is we've now know that the amount of deuterium in our body is directly correlated to our level of health. It's an exact match. If you're over 156, you're in trouble. 156 parts per million. Now, normally at a certain age, you cross 140. That's when you start getting into trouble, 140 parts per million. So the Russians eventually started going, okay, you have to do, what are we going to do to get the deuterium out? And they eventually came to this idea of alternative dry fasting, which is very difficult, where you get all the way to a water fast. And you do one day I have a fast on water, the next day on nothing, then on water, then on nothing, then on water, then on nothing, and do that for 20 days. Now,
And
that
Russia came up with this?
The Russians did that. And that works. And that will de-age you and it'll get the deuterium out of your body. And you have a system in your body that will get the deuterium out once you give your body the chance. So then the Hungarians came along and they found out that you could fractionally distill the water down and get rid of the heavy water that's present in all, the deuterium is present in all our water. It's present in all our food. It's present in our whole ecosystem, all our biosphere. Everything around us is contaminated with deuterium.
In the whole world, like Africa, Australia, everywhere.
And in fact, the further you go north or south, further you get into colder regions, the deuterium goes down. So in Iceland, for example, Icelandic spring water is about 137 parts per million deuterium, which is very good. The Hungarians figured out through fractional distillation or fractional freezing, you could get the deuterium level down in your water, your drinking water, down to 65 parts per million or 45 parts per million or 25 parts per million. Then they did research on cancer patients for 20 years on people drinking that water and what happens to you when you drink deuterium depleted water, DDW water. And that is one of the greatest breakthroughs of our time.
Hydrogen?
You're basically getting hydrogen to displace the
There you go.
deuterium.
Jackie,
I just bought a hydrogen thing for the water.
I love the guests that you bring
for
on
plus.
because I thought, like I've got a pair of socks that have the periodic table on it, and like that's about as educational as I get. But I'm
and you know that's a limited table.
Oh, it's very limited, and I think it's massively incorrect.
Yeah,
by the way, yes. Don't put a test in front of me. I will fail. But I got the socks.
You got the socks. So okay, so you did best day ever, and the other platform has been longevity.
Yes. See, because I'm in the longevity field, I've got to know what the cutting edge is and act on it and have it all down, right? The biggest thing there for most people, like when I get into DDW water, people are like, oh my God, what is that? Here's what's more simple and more useful to all of us. Charcoal. Activated charcoal has been, this has to be said because somebody's got to tell you. Activated charcoal has been in research on animals by far the #1 longevity substance of any single thing that you can feed an animal or feed a human being that will give you the best chances of increasing lifespan by far.
The dog walker's like,
charcoal.
his dog poop is really black. Don't worry about it.
So I use facial. I use like charcoal facial wash, right? Now, at what point, right, when something is good for you, then it becomes popular, and then they try to find a cheaper way of making it? At what point, like how much percentage of charcoal does something need to be for it to be effective?
100%. That's the thing.
Okay, I'm throwing all my things away.
Like, for example,
I'm throwing all of it away.
We hear about teeth whitening using activated charcoal, which is by far the safest and best teeth whitener of all time. All you do is you take your toothbrush, you open up your little capsule of charcoal right on your toothbrush, and you brush your teeth with it at least once a week. And watch what it does to your mouth and to your teeth.
And they don't do that. Like they don't manufacture it that way because it's unpopular to put the black. Like nobody wants to brush their teeth and have them black foam come out of your mouth. But it is. I do activated charcoal too. But it's not a big deal.
That will work.
And what are the benefits of it?
They're going to cheapen down the toothpaste. So, oh, this is charcoal toothpaste, but it's really only a small amount of charcoal in there.
And what are what would if I did that for a month? What would happen?
Charcoal's an adsorbent. Meaning it's not absorbent, which is a sponge. It absorbs things. This adsorbs things. Now there's a difference. The absorption is like a sponge; it soaks it in. Charcoal's electromagnetically pulling to itself like a magnet toxic materials right out of your teeth, out of your body, right off your gums, everything. It's an antiseptic par excellence. It's one of the most antiseptic substances ever found, and it's a neutralizer, and it resets the biome. Right, so we have this biome of all the bacteria in our mouth, for example. If charcoal's underneath all that and cleans that all up, that's exactly what nature wants. That's what nature prefers. That's why nature resets ecosystems with a fire. Right, there's all the charcoal resets the whole ecosystem. The black earth begins the start of all soil.
So I was just going to ask you, what is activated charcoal? I mean, because I think of charcoal when I put it in the fire.
That's such a good
question. Is that
she's good? She's good, isn't she?
I don't speak often, but when I do,
it's important.
So charcoal is when you take wood and you burn it and you try to remove oxygen from getting to the wood. So for example, if I took an old Folgers can of whatever and I popped a hole on each side and I was able to get the wood in there, and then I threw that into a fire so the oxygen can't get to it, but it's heating up. I'm baking it basically. If I bake the wood, what will be left over is the charcoal skeleton. So it hasn't burned to ash yet. It's just the skeleton. That's what charcoal is. So charcoal, if we're going to take that and we're going to make it activated, all they're doing is they're taking a really good charcoal material like the shell of a coconut, and they're blasting superheated steam through it that's like at 900 degrees just to get off those last 10% of the volatile proteins and stuff that's still there that hasn't completely burned off, just to kind of clean it off. And that's why activated charcoal was invented, because it's a little bit more clean. It's purer. It's more pharmaceutical in its use. For example, if I want to filter water, I use charcoal. But it has to be good quality charcoal. If I want to filter air, I use charcoal. If I want to filter off stuff out of my body, I'm going to use charcoal.
Longevity, technology, AI. What are you seeing in terms of technology trends?
Okay, well, I'm a Rudolf Steiner fan. I'm an anthroposophist. So what I see with technology trends is it's a kind of you have to play the game of technology, but you got to be careful you don't get sucked into it. So you got to make sure you spend your time away from the technology. And so that we spend a lot of time, we're like, I don't have my phone on me. If I did have my phone on me, you'd see a system. You'd go, what's that system? What do you mean? Like, I never hold my phone in my hand. I have a tripod system that holds my phone. It's like a DJI tripod camera system, so that it's never in my hand. It's always away from me. The distance that the technology is away from you, the better and safer you are.
It's not hip with the youngsters.
This could be very hip. The system I have is could be very hip, because it's one of those things. It's like when people see it, they're like, what's that?
Put that
It's
down.
a whole
Get that away. I was like sitting on it. I was sitting on my phone. We're getting it out of here. What do you think? And I don't know if there's a real answer or if we're just hypothetical. What do you think is the max we will live to, that we can, that the human,
great question.
If the human body if we did everything right,
Not forever.
how long can we stretch this thing out
That's
for?
good. 300.
Whoa.
You think
Sure,
it's at
yes.
300?
You could walk
now,
on Earth.
Now let me just lay it down real
In a
quick.
good, healthy
we get the
life.
toxic isotopes out. Remember this, the toxic mimics. Like basically deuterium is toxically mimicking hydrogen, right? So if we are able to get all of the toxic isotopes out of our body, which we suspect, by the way, by the geological record, that the more ancient waters on the earth have way less isotopes in them. So there was probably a past age, like the biblical age of the patriarchs, where there's no way Methuselah lived to be 969 years old or whatever it was. Now we go, there is a way, because there was no isotopes in the environment at that time, which are toxic imposters, right? So that's one thing. The stem cells, the charcoal, then you put together like, okay, little diet, lots of fasting, lots of outdoor activity.
And a Nutribullet.
And a Nutribullet.
And a Nutribullet.
Could go wrong.
So where should we send people to? Which website of yours do you want people to find you?
DavidWolfe.com is
DavidWolfe.com.
good. Yeah, DavidWolfe.com. You can always find me, David Avocado Wolfe, on Facebook, or David Avocado Wolfe on Instagram.
Thank you
Wolf
so
with
much.
an E.
Thank you very much for joining
That
us.
was great. Great show.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Yeah,
For
really
more
good questions.
information, check us out at frontandcenterpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be right back.
Who I am right now is a multidimensional being. And in the multidimensional being that I am, I have many gifts.
Really every part of the business on some level is really just a relationship. So is it the relationship to the grower, the distiller, or to the client, or to people that are working with you?
If you are doing extraordinary things from behind the scenes, from any walk of life, we'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to us on YouTube at TV Guestpert and/or TV Guestpert Broadcast Podcast. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at TV Guestpert.
Welcome back to Front and Center with Jacquie Jordan.
My spirit guides, they love to get things right.
Welcome back to Front and Center. I'm Jacquie Jordan, and we're joined here with Stephanie Cobian, Phillip Andrew Barbb. We are the show where the change agents, the storytellers, and activators from behind the scenes affecting collective narratives take their seat with us front and center. Today joining us is Kimberly Meredith. We're at the Conscious Life Expo at the LAX Hilton, and she's going to be one of the speakers here. And she's a medical intuitive who has had 2 near-death experiences that woke up her gifts. Watch out there, Anthony Williams, medical medium. You've met your match. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you so much for joining us.
There you go, an intro.
Describe what you do as a medical intuitive. To me, you are a living radar machine. You just walk around meeting people.
Yes, I do. I absolutely do that. I can see through people's bodies, and I do that by just taking my hand and waving it across their body from, the top of the skull all the way down their body, energetic field to their feet. And I just sort of compute that through my eye blinking. So my left eye will say when things are good, and my right eye says when things are absolutely not good. And with that, I get the downloads of saying that, your breast may have cancer, you have a tumor in your brain, or it already was there and was removed, or your appendix is gone, or your spleen is infected, or you have pancreatitis. And so I don't need any information from you at all. Nothing.
And your results and your success rate in doing that, you're confident in your...
Yeah, it's 100%. Yeah. So the guide, the spirit, communicates with me, and since this happened to me, which has only been a few years, it has sped up even faster.
With that, with the waving, is that the only way it's able to access? Because it feels like if that was always coming at you, it would be difficult. If you were always reading everyone, it would be hard to control. So is that what activates it for you?
Can you turn it off?
No, I'm also a remote viewer.
Got it.
So I can be in an audience of 1,000 people like Tyler Henry, and I can just walk out and also get downloads of people just by remote viewing. So I can pick up information off somebody without waving too. So I do Skypes also throughout the world, and people come on through a Skype session, and I can just look at somebody also with their breathing. I can pick up information off somebody just through their breath. So after I do the medical intuitive part of my work, which is helping people know where everything is inside of their body, then my guides like to go in and helping people understand they can also heal their body.
And your near-death experiences
Yes.
really were the trigger point to bringing this healing gift online, which is really what it is. And I'm going to also qualify when you say frequency, the way I hear that or can explain that outward is like, so we're all operating in the bandwidth of this radio channel. To access that capacity, you're operating up here on a different radio channel frequency, and that, but it was brought on by your near-death experiences. Can you explain that or tell us or share that with us?
I can.
Because you had not one, but two.
Yeah. There was no way ever I could be experiencing the experience I'm experiencing without having that experience, because I never could do what I'm doing right now, which is this, I say, sort of Harry Potter energy that I'm doing. And I like to say that because I can't get too serious about what I'm doing, because it would make me get too wound up in that energy.
When we had started the show kind of with this idea of where a lot of times you have people on one far extreme and people on another extreme, and then for people in the middle, they're a little unsure, right? I'm sure for you, you have your experiences and you've experienced it, so you know it to be true 100% to you. There's people that have not had those that feel like they
or
hear
it's like
these
the
things
church thing
and
where
they
they're
don't,
like,
yeah,
you've been
they don't,
healed.
yeah,
Hallelujah,
right.
praise
So my
You know what I'm
my
talking
question
about.
for you is, you have the luxury of, you've experienced these things, you know that they're real for you. How do you explain it to someone? Not that says, hey, I don't believe in any of it, but how do you explain it to someone that's never experienced something like you have?
To be honest, I didn't even know any healers before this happened to me. I was a girl that worked in nursing, I was also in the entertainment business. I used to set up shots for Grey's Anatomy and all my children and all that. I didn't even know about all this stuff, And then all of a sudden I have all these guides and all of this, information coming at me. And I do consider myself a starseed kid because when I was young, I did have a lot of paranormal abilities. But I didn't know about all of this stuff. But my spirit guides, they love to get things right. And they love to scan people. And they love to help people be healed. And they love to teach people that they can heal, you can heal yourselves. Because it is so miraculously beautiful. At the same time, they want everybody to learn to do it. For me, I did have healing abilities as a young child. My eyes were blinking at the early age of birth to 7 years old. And then they left because I forced myself to make them leave. I had a conversation with the source to make them leave because I was teased a lot from the blinking. And I was just different, and I didn't want the teasing to go on anymore and the stuff that was happening to me. But what happens is that I feel, and what's going to happen more for people out there that are listening, is that whatever you really are and the truth of who you really are is going to happen. So what happened to me is that in 2012, I had an accident, and then I had another accident, and it emerged into who I really am right now. And who I am right now is a multidimensional being. And in the multidimensional being that I am, I have many gifts. And some of them are very interesting to people because hundreds and hundreds of people come to me daily wanting to know what's really going on with their body. They may go to get an MRI and a CT scan and all of these blood tests, but still don't have answers to what's really happening to them.
Because medicine is so fragmented.
Right.
I've got a girlfriend dealing with a stomach issue. She said to gastroenterologist, and then the medicine, they meant to send her to a heart person. And it's so fragmented. There's no wholeness. There's no wholeness in a lot of medicine.
Exactly.
Even though it
right.
works and serves a purpose.
Exactly. But to go back to your question is, how did I accept, like, I don't know if you asked me that, but how did it just kind of happen to me in a short little thing? I just was willingly to accept spirit to come into me after the NDE and say, yes, I am ready to accept the gift that I was given. And my eyes started to blink again as I was when I was a child. And then I became a trance channel through that.
Was there any, as you had your near-death experience, and I know, because I'm curious if you would share about what happened, if whatever you're comfortable sharing with it, but then how quickly after you had that experience, did it just all of a sudden come on? Was it something where it was like a slow, you started noticing more things, or was it like it immediately clicked?
I knew when I left the hospital, actually, I wasn't the same person. I knew when I was driving home with my boyfriend that it wasn't me. When I left, after I left Cedars, I wasn't walking the same. I wasn't speaking the same. My voice was different. I didn't feel the same energy in my body.
Would you call it a walk-in experience for you?
Possibly,
yeah,
yes.
Call it a walk-in experience.
And then when I got home, it just wasn't me anymore. And I was suffering from a head concussion and a lot of body issues because of the accident. Then in the matter of 8 to 9 months, I had started to become a full-blown trance medium.
So when you do, you read somebody, how do you tell them about something that's important to them?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked that. So they come in and they push a recorder on. And they lay down on a table or they can sit in a chair. And I just say, open your hands. And I put them in a sort of a trance by looking in their eyes and saying, breathing and saying, I am love and I am light and I'm in the 5th dimension. And I just start, I'm sort of like very fast scanner. So I'll just start going through their whole body and naming off multiple things that I'm finding throughout their body. And then afterwards, I'll say, did you have this, that? And, I go through the whole entire system and they'll say, yes, you're correct. Wow. And then a lot of times, if it's something they don't know about, I'll say, I suggest you get this checked or that checked or this, or your thyroid seems off to me, the left side of your thyroid, the right side's okay. They're telling me the left eye, you had glaucoma, the right ear is not well. They're telling me maybe 12 years ago you were hit in the side of your head. The guides are so meticulous. Wow. It's not just maybe your liver's a little bit off. Yeah. My guides are just obnoxious.
It's like you're a biocomputer.
They're really obnoxious.
In your body.
They're really annoying.
It's like
they
you're
even know if you've had plastic surgery. Yeah. They're just really
biocomputer. I see you as a biocomputer using your body as a biocomputer, just doing the scans.
They're just like
I totally get that.
Now, who are they? Are those people that were former people that lived on this earth? Are they not of this earth? Are they of something else? What are their origins?
They're of the higher civilizations.
I was going to ask you, is it a Pleiadians?
Yes.
Yeah, you're Pleiadian.
They're the Pleiadians. Yeah, they are Jesus. They're the prophets. They've come back again to help us and to move the ascension.
Can you give us their take on the coronavirus then, that everybody's all jacked up over?
Oh my God, you're going to have to come to my 2-hour workshop.
In a soundbite, Kimberly.
No. Well, there's a lot going on with all of that, actually. Yeah, you can ask me some questions about that if you want, yes.
And at the top of the show, we also spoke about the documentary Vaxx and the vaccinations and the over-vaccinations. I mean, we
blinking God about that.
That we all have, a lot of opinions, but it's very, it's controversial. As I say, we're allowed to have diversity of gender, diversity of sexuality. We're not allowed to have diversity of opinion at all. Right. Hashtag 2020.
Absolutely. And I have a lot of people that come to me with their opinions of that. I have a lot of children that come to me and mothers, and it is a serious situation.
Yeah, it's as bad as we think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And same with the coronavirus, not in the way it's being presented.
That's right, they're saying. No.
Not in the way it's being
They're
presented.
going no. Yeah.
When you talk, you say they. Are you hearing multiple things, or are they coming as one in a unanimous voice?
Well, there's a lot. And then, of course, the main is the Holy One, omnipresent, and angels and guides.
So you're going to have a standing room only this weekend at the Conscious Life Expo. I am so sure everybody will want to get in to see that. I mean, that's a really beautiful gift that you are committed to sharing.
Thank you.
And then you can also be found on the Medical Intuitive Miracle Show. Is that still happening?
I do. I have a Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time and 10 p.m. Eastern time that people come on the show, and I do scan them live on air.
That's amazing.
And then I do healings on people.
This is a radio show?
It's my radio show on KTLA.
Okay, well, we got to get you a TV show.
There you go. They're from a TV
We got to
producer.
get you a TV show.
And your website is the Healing Trilogy, healingtrilogy.com. So that's where people can find you, book appointments, be scanned. That's a beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts with us and being of service on a humanitarian level in the way that you do, because some people will go back and shut those gifts down. And you're not doing that, and that's really beautiful. And thank you so much for joining us front and center. We'll be right back.
As a lot of people work with their passion, I mean, you're going to get to a stage where there's like lawyers and accountants and spreadsheets, and then like all of a sudden your sweet hobby turns into something else.
If you are doing extraordinary things from behind the scenes, from any walk of life, we'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to us on YouTube at TV Guestpert and/or TV Guestpert Broadcast Podcast. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at TV Guestpert. If you're ready to write that book you've been putting off, join us at guestpertpublishing.com for a how-to step-by-step online course that shares your publishing options and paces you on how to structure your book.
Alex Detail was a child genius who saved the world from the evil harvesters. But a decade later, this mysterious alien force has returned, and Alex is no longer a prodigy. Now, in order to save the world again, he must survive his kidnapping, fight his evil clone, and get his ship to the planet Pluto, where he will uncover the universe's ultimate power. Alex Detail's Revolution, a thrilling new novel by Darren Campo. Buy online or wherever books are sold.
Welcome back to Front and Center with Jacquie Jordan.
Well, the fun thing being an entrepreneur, like while it is, I mean, the whole reason's almost like to formulate and have these beautiful products, but you just keep learning.
Welcome back to Front and Center. I'm Jacquie Jordan, and we are backstage at the Conscious Life Expo at the Hilton LAX. This is the show where we talk to the change agents, storytellers, and activators making impact, now sitting with us front and center. Today, our co-hosts are Stephanie Cobian and Phillip Andrew Barbb. And joining us as our guest is Nadine Artemis. She is an alchemist of beauty and the author of Renegade Beauty. And I'm so glad to have her joining us. Welcome, Nadine. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
And I should also say the reason you're here is you're the founder of Living Libations. Living Libations, I have been living off the beauty of Living Libations for the last decade and plus. You've built up an incredible company, and to share with Stephanie and Phillip, and I got to introduce Stephanie just recently to your products. Living Libations, you're an alchemist. You use raw plants and sometimes food in the chapstick, lip gloss, sunscreen, tooth. You're also an expert in holistic tooth care. I mean, you do this all in your beautiful home in the woods in Canada. Tell us a little bit more about your business.
Yes, well, that Living Libations has, my husband and I started that in like 2002. But prior to that, when I was 22 years old, I did open up North America's first full concept aromatherapy store in Toronto. And we had this beautiful blending bar where we would do custom blended perfumes, or you could buy essential oils by the drop. And, we're bringing in all of our beautiful essential oils and raw materials from all over the world, from special small family farms that just are right into the art of the distillation and finding the just most optimal ingredients that the planet has to offer.
And you have been ahead of your time in this. Like now you go into Whole Foods or any grocery store, you can find health, holistic beauty products. But when you launched, there was nobody doing this.
Yeah, it was a small field, and mainly a lot of body care was just up to the more giant commercial companies. And so just sort of carving out with our, more organic and really, architecting products that aren't dependent on things like methylparabens and different chemicals and preservatives, because really, at the end of the day, no cell in your body is parched for petroleum and any of its 50 derivatives in your skincare.
Was there something that kind of launched it even before you started the business, but when you started getting involved with this, what was it that kickstarted the interest for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, as a kid, I was very much into blending and alchemy and just mushing things in the forest.
Can you picture her like a little like kind of Nancy Drew with her little bottles and any flowers in her hair?
I love that.
Yes, I could see that.
Mushing things together and flowers and putting mud on and really even just going to town in my mother's bathroom and kind of destroying her precious. And then it was grade 9. I had to do a science fair project, and I found this book at the library that was about making cosmetics and in a way that was understandable, and you mix that with that. But there was a chapter on perfumery that really resonated with me because I had a full collection of bottles at the time. And then understanding that perfumes, not just these chemicals in a bottle, but that the artistry of it all and the roots of it all were based on plant distillation. So it took you through the history of ancient Egypt.
Smell it, Phillip.
Which really resonated.
Tell us what you smell.
Yeah. And then I thought...
It smells very fresh.
Isn't
Which
it
one is
beautiful?
that?
Yeah, this is jasmine.
Oh,
And doesn't it not
Julep.
smell chemical? Like a lot of colognes and perfumes just, to me, at least to me, smell very chemical. Like that just smells...
I get choked up if someone's got so much perfume. I'm like, I can't breathe. I need to leave. Like,
I just want to have
too close
a
to me.
euphoric aura. That's what I need. That's what I've been lacking.
I think you already
now,
have
when
one.
when you said you were in school and you started doing the projects and stuff, when you look at perfumes, to me that's a scary industry. I just think of a lot of
Animal
in
testing?
makeup and perfume. I think of animal testing as someone.
People
for
don't even
me,
know
I
the
can't
abuse that goes
wear
on.
those things that if I know.
Yeah, well, kind of in its history. So maybe a company doesn't test on animals now, but perhaps ingredients that they are using.
Right,
that's how
what
they-
Leaping Bunny looks for. Because they said, because I'm a Leaping Bunny, that's what I look for in my project. And they said, yes, there's companies who may be non-animal tests, but doesn't mean that the ingredients or the stuff in it may not
It's
have
kind
been
of
animal.
like
So if it's not a
clean
Leaping
without
Bunny,
not being clean.
I just found out about Leaping Bunny and we applied and we got the thing. So we're now Leaping Bunny.
I love it. I'm a
course you
big
are.
supporter.
It's just very rigorous into you're not using any ingredients in your supply chain that have been tested on animals, and we really love their program.
So you'll see a bunny on the program, the product.
So that's
So
what
I will.
separates.
I
we'll
drink
probably
this
have
and
it
I'll
on
start seeing bunnies.
Maybe you will.
But you know what? You could drink that.
That's exactly
it's-
my
it's-
point about
yeah.
the products is that they're so clean that you can ingest them they're
See,
natural.
And that's what my
Coconut
parents
oil.
needed, because I used to get into everything when I was a little kid. Like me and my sister would just destroy everything. I loved wearing makeup. Edit this
Thank
out.
goodness
Edit this
you
out.
weren't
I loved
neighbors
wearing
with
makeup.
Nadine when you were both little
Yeah,
kids.
Right? We were just making stuff up. You would have been mixing it up, and I would have been covered in it.
Yeah.
But even now as an adult, Jackie gave me the chocolate one. I was like, "Can I eat this?" And she's like, "You can." I was like, "Oh, well."
But you know,
I don't know if I want to know that I can eat it.
There's a statistic that women ingest 11 pounds of lipstick a year. And if you're ingesting petroleum and not something that organic,
Wow.
Lead.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yes.
wow.
Still lead in
Yeah.
lipsticks.
lead in lipsticks, and it's in your mouth. So, and that's like common.
And there's things in deodorant. I
Yeah,
use now. I've
aluminum.
changed to like salt deodorant. Yeah.
So if it's aluminum, that stone,
Mm-hmm.
it still has a form of aluminum in it. They're sold at health food stores, so you think you're all safe. But yeah, so with classic deodorant, I mean, we're getting a daily microdose of aluminum in our armpits, especially for women. If we're shaving, it's just going right into the bloodstream and really
Which is a
building
nation
up.
with a lot of breast cancer
Mhm.
in the lymphatic system.
Yes.
With a culture afraid of breast cancer.
Yeah.
Yes, and breast cancer really, it also does include sort of the lateral aspect because, sometimes lymph nodes from the armpit are removed and that kind of thing. So we really, we do know now it's all connected. And where maybe in the 90s and the early 2000s, we understand that a lot of the ingredients can be endocrine disruptors. But now what we also know is that it all messes with the skin's microbiome. And that's really key for us to understand. And if we are disturbing our microbiome, just like our guts have one, our skin is a huge microbiome area. So as gross it may be, our skin's like a tapestry teeming with bacteria. We are a host to them, and we've got to be a good host and really set the right stage. But if we're like adding on that petroleum-based like cream or something like that, we're literally disrupting the microbiome, which is like our beautician. So I always sort of recommend we got to sort of step back from our over-processed care and allow the bacteria to be the beautician and not over-exfoliate and over-chemicalize our beauty routines, because it really, at the end of the day, is not contributing to health and beauty.
And you also, in my opinion, were ahead in the whole conscious commerce. And can you talk about that and what that means to you and the partnerships that you create with the work that you do?
Yeah, well, really, it's like really every part of the business on some level is really just a relationship. So is it the relationship to the grower, the distiller, or to the client, or to people that are working with you? And so you want to see where you can add in like be integrity all the way through, not just have a really great product, but like our beautiful headquarters now, we tried to make it a beautiful place, and we have like yoga and a meditation room and just different things where we're really celebrating that. And then our growers and distillers, those relationships are so key, and it's really nice to forge like economic partnerships that are really helping like a family thrive in another country, and they get to do the artistry that they want to do. So it's really like just a kind of cosmic collaboration.
For Stephanie and Phillip, can you describe your hard commute to work?
Yeah, well, sometimes I walk, and sometimes I take the electric ATV through the forest. I have a 20-minute trail walk or ride through the forest to get to our beautiful 20,000 square foot headquarters.
Aww.
Is that amazing?
That's awesome.
I mean, like,
Have you?
I'd love that.
When you speak about some of the partnerships that you make with other companies, or there's always, in any business, right? There's still always the capitalist side. So have you ever had moments where you feel that pull from staying true to the integrity of the product and wanting to make sure that you're staying, just true to what your mission is, and then also the business end of people trying to cut a corner? Or how do you deal with that?
I generally, there's lots of decision making and stuff, but I don't think about the bottom line. Never have, never will. It's like the product needs to be what it wants to be. The business needs what it wants to be. So I just don't think that in that reductionist way. However, this really did start out as my hobby. I was smelling the oils and the jasmine. I was just like, how can that just needs to be my life. I need to be surrounded by all of that. But, as a lot of people work with their passion, you're going to get to a stage where there's like lawyers and accountants and spreadsheets, and then like all of a sudden your sweet hobby turns into something else. So I've had to, ride through different ways while you're like...
Because a lot of people can't turn a hobby into a business. And I do a lot of mentoring for women starting business in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And, you know, we do look at the numbers and we're like, you're not going to make enough candles in your garage to support your lifestyle here. It's not going to happen. But these are different avenues you can take.
You have to move to the woods in Canada because that's where it happens. That's where the magic happens.
But people are trying to, because you do essential oils. Now that's like the biggest trend like ever. And I've got all these moms on my Facebook trying to sell it. And but you ahead of the time.
Yeah, I was.
How do you fight those ones now?
Well, luckily, the quality always comes through. So when people smell, like we can say everything and we have third-party lab reports on our website and we go through all that. But at the end of the day, smelling like our frankincense to another, it just speaks to the person and they get it, because it really is authentic. But the adulteration of essential oils has been going on since they can. Like, I mean, the tricks and that of the industry, either it's like added synthetics or it's a nature identical, not even real. Those tricks have been so fancy for so long that really, as soon as I learned about essential oils and that kind of thing, I did have to take that into consideration, quality. And that's what actually made me start sourcing ingredients while I was in university, because I couldn't find them. And I had to find rare things that I was reading in books but couldn't find, like neroli blossoms or immortelle, which are a little easier to find today, but you're still maybe not getting that quality. Like our immortelle is distilled in Corsica by a 4th generation family, by this awesome woman distiller, and it's just exquisite.
I appreciate your passion for it comes through, and obviously starting from, you know, as a young girl creating this, what excites you as you look for the changes that are happening in this industry, and not just about it growing and more people getting access to it, but what excites you over the next 10 years? Where do you think things are going?
Well, the fun thing being an entrepreneur, like while it is, I mean, the whole reason's almost like to formulate and have these beautiful products, but you just keep learning. Like, so now all of a sudden it's like having a business with a team and like integrating that, or then taking a few years to write books. And so I just really feel like through this beautiful vehicle, my soul can get to play out anything it wants.
And you're also doing this in a partnership with your husband, which, you know, not everybody's successful in doing that.
Yes.
You know, sometimes we say don't mix, you know, business with, you know.
Well, yeah, and he right off when we met, he's like, let's work together. And I was like, oh, wait, we don't want to kill the romance.
Exactly, right? But you've been married a long time. You have a son.
Date nights and spreadsheets. Like, it's perfect.
So your kid with the children?
Yeah, well,
so they must be the healthiest.
They must be the
child.
best smelling kids at school.
They probably had like the baby skin up until like
his
50.
Yeah, his skin, he's 12 now, and his skin is beautiful.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say I'm embarrassed because your book is twice as large as my book is. So this means there's a lot of information in there.
I wanted to bring in the foreword. It's done by Carrie Ann Moss, who is in the Matrix. They're going to do a Matrix 4. And I know Carrie Ann because she's very big on meditation and mindfulness. Like that's really her thing. And you kind of had a coincidental meeting with her. Like it was an accidental meeting. Like,
well, she actually smelt that product, Rose Glow, at somebody's house and was just like, I need to meet this woman. And then she emailed me and was like, I need to find you and meet you. So she kind of stalked me.
Wow.
I joke, we joke. But she's such a dynamic, amazing best friend.
That's a great, a fun friend to have.
She's a great person for the product because she's got glowing skin.
Yes,
she's beautiful.
ageless.
She's radiant. Yeah, I mean, she looks the same now as when she did the Matrix.
Yep.
I mean,
it's because she's in the Matrix.
Yeah.
They
We are all
decide, they
in the
choose
Matrix.
how they want to look at the Matrix.
Well, thank you so much, Nadine.
Thank you.
Living Libations and Renegade. Why don't you hold that up? Renegade Beauty, Nadine Artemis. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. You can find us on YouTube at Front and Center Broadcast Podcast. Please subscribe. And we are on where all of your favorite podcasts air. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Front and Center with Jacquie Jordan podcast. Please subscribe to us on YouTube and follow us on Instagram at TV Guestpert. We'd love to hear from you.
Are you ready to take your seat front and center and need some behind-the-scenes media training? Sign up for our online course, Media Marketing. For more information, go to tvguestpert.com. If you're ready to write that book you've been putting off, join us at guestpertpublishing.com for a how-to step-by-step online course that shares your publishing options and paces you on how to structure your book.